Hello, everybody. Welcome to another GwentCast. This is going to be Game 3 of Finland versus GFR in the Gwentlemen Invitational's finals. I believe this is actually the semifinals. So, Finland's going to be down by 2 matches in this best of 5 series. It's going to be a long climb for Finland to get out of here, but I think that they're playing a really good deck. I really believe that this deck is very strong right now and should not have any trouble winning this game, as GFR is likely on their weakest deck now. So, with as strong as this deck is, I feel like Finland should be able to win this no problem. Thinking about kicking a Sheldon Skaggs, as it can be retrieved off of Bruverhug. Yavin also can be kicked as it can be get off of Bruverhug. So let's see how Finland wants to open this game. Unfortunately, they do have to play first. And this monster stack proved to be pretty strong in a recent tournament that I may cast in the future, but a few options for Finland to open here. And if he opens Bruverhug, that's a huge commitment. Possibly going to commit that Yavin to the board immediately. So Bruverhug into Yavin is pretty good because it's basically an 8-point Yavin, and that's definitely possible to overcome with a single card. So gonna pull Drought off of that Yavin, which is pretty good. Drought's a pretty good card. Falling out of favor though because a lot of people are clearing skies via the Silver Clear Skies cards or just the Bronze Clear Skies. Finland going to think about what they want to play here, and it's going to be a tough decision for them, I believe. If they want to possibly just deploy that Dolbal Thana marksman to shoot an egg, and that will help disrupt future brands. But instead going to opt for Desert, which does pull Roach, and we might see a pass here from GFR not wanting to play into that Goldweather. They are going to play into the Goldweather and take a 24-point lead off of that Vran Warrior. Vran Warrior, one of the key cards for this Monsters deck. We might see the Marksman come down now so that they can move that Vran on the next turn so that Vran can't consume anything at the beginning of GFR's turn. This Goldweather ticking down, dealing 6 that turn. And we'll see how GFR wants to respond. And they will use Ekimara to pull a unit out of the melee row. But unfortunately for that Ekimara, it's probably going to be pulled into the melee row. So they could pull either the Ekimara into the melee row or pull the Vran. The advantage to pulling Vran is that it doesn't feed Neckers. So every time Vran consumes a card, Neckers get bigger. And the advantage to pulling Ekimara is if enough turns go by, you can potentially work that Ekimara down all the way so that there's no carryover for the Monsters player. We'll see how they want to act here. Dwarven Agitator going to pull Dwarven Mercenary. They're guaranteed to pull the Dwarven Mercenary because it's the only card in their deck that can be pulled off of the Agitator. And Mercenary does opt to pull that Vran. And with a 1-point lead, the Monsters player will pass here. And they will have that 6 points of carryover from Ekimara. So no free dry pass going to be available for Finland. But Finland will be able to go into the next round down only a single card. So not a bad trade for having to play first. And the timer going to be ticking down 25 seconds remaining for Finland to make a decision on how they want to end this round. And I do like this lock, because what that will do is that will make it so that there's no carryover, and Finland can take a dry pass so that they can go even in cards to round 3. And with Ragnarok still available, a long round 3 is a good option for Finland to help them take over this game. So Gerard Ard, a pretty good draw for Finland, but they are going to try to look for that Ragnarok, I think, because that will help them pretty significantly coming into this final round. And unfortunately, Blue Stripes Commando to find Finland. They will be able to kick it in round 3, but still not the best draw. So Necker going to come down, creating 5 points of carryover for round 3. So almost a free play there from the Monsters deck. A little less for them to consume, but I think that's going to end up being okay. So Blue Mountain being kicked in favor of that Dwarven Mercenary. And unfortunately, we did not find Ragnarok, which would have almost certainly sealed the deal against this Monsters deck unless the Monsters deck has Clear Skies. Now, if the Monsters deck has Clear Skies, something to keep in mind is not drawing Ragnarok is advantageous here. So Vran going to eat that Necker. A 17-point play 1 from GFR. Finland is going to be a card up. We'll see how they want to act here, and Blue Mountain is a pretty good decision, I believe. So that will pull the Blue Mountain Commandos out of the deck, and that gives some movement options available to Finland for a little extra value, because when those Blue Stripes get pulled, they get an extra 2 power. So Verhead Brigade going to come down here and likely pull Vran into the back row to prevent any consumption of those eggs. Those eggs are really good value when they get consumed. And Woodland Spirit going to finally be committed to the board, and this is going to be a lot of power because it's going to pull 2 Harpies and that Foglet out of the deck. But the Verheed Brigade going to disrupt this fog, and again disrupt Vran, pulling that. Oh, and can't disrupt Vran. It can pull. I guess it doesn't matter what they pull to that back row. They can potentially just pull that 6-powered Necker to the back row to set up a future Hailstorm. But this Verhead Brigade going to come down and clear that fog, which is the primary use of that Verhead Brigade, and is thinking about targeting that Necker. 20 seconds remaining on the clock for Finland. That brigade does end up moving the Necker, and a second Vran Warrior going to come down and consume an egg for a 6-point pump on the Vran, and pulling a Harpy as well. Finland 29 points behind, but 1 card ahead. So we'll see how they want to act here, and they actually have a lot of power staying in their hand via Ard and Shive. So Shive can start to set up the Ard, push into the back row to set up Hailstorm. So we're going to see first Vran be pulled, second Vran be pulled, which I like, because that will make that Vran eat the other Vran. So that means that an Ard trigger can move, you only need to waste 1 of the 3 Ard targets on a single Vran, as opposed to having to focus on moving 2 things. So a very clever play from Finland. Dagon finally coming down, putting a fog on that middle row. And that's just going to pull another Verhead Brigade out of Finland's hand, and they're likely just going to pull Blue Stripes Commando. They can pull Blue Stripes Commando to the middle, or they can pull Necker Warrior, or Necker to the middle and that will set up Hailstorm on the middle row. The problem with setting up Hailstorm on the middle row is that makes it hard to set up a Hailstorm with that Gerard. And yeah, they will just opt to move that Blue Mountain Commando. Caretaker going to come down and find a maybe CRN. That will lock something and move it maybe. I don't really see another option for them. It's either CRN or it's the Dwarven Mercenary, but they both move a unit for the same value. So what he can actually do here is cleverly lock the Vran, and that will stop the consumption that will provide extra value for that Hailstorm. But no, instead, CRN going to move the Blue Stripes Commando and pump it up, probably believing that the lock goes off before the move. Unfortunately, the move goes off first and they get the trigger and then it gets locked. So giving a little extra value to Finland, unfortunately. I think I maybe would have liked to see Dwarven Mercenary instead because it's the same amount of points, but what it does is it helps pull some power out of that middle row. So Ard going to come down here, and I think that this is a little early. I would have liked to see Vran consume just one more unit. Because again, that makes it a little bit more efficient for that Ard to move things into the back row. Frightener coming down for Team GFR. Going to draw them a card. But Finland for the first time ahead in this game. In this round 3. Finland thinking about how they want to play this. Sheldon Skag's still available, so what can happen here is Dwarven Mercenary can pull a unit to the middle, and then Skags can go ahead and scatter them again. What I would probably like to see is Mercenary into the middle, and then maybe Skags that way. Because what you can do is Dwarven Mercenary a Blue Mountain to the front row, then move it back to the middle with the second Dwarven Mercenary, and then go ahead and Skags it. But Skags maybe just coming down here. So Dwarven Mercenaries are worth 4 if they pull a Blue Mountain Commando. So if they're going to use Dwarven Mercenary to set up a Hailstorm, they need to be getting more than 4 value out of that Hailstorm. So in this case, you aren't going to be the only better option than moving a Blue Stripes Commando. But we are going to see Katakan come down and consume something for 6 and go up to 12 points. So now 2 options available for Dwarven Mercenary to move for maximum Hailstorm value. Finland going to debate whether they want to use the Agitator or just the straight up Mercenary. And they're pointing at the Blue Stripes, the Blue Mountain Commando, and deciding whether they want to pull that card instead. And what this does is that helps prevent Hailstorm against Finland, but I don't think that I like that play very much. I would have almost certainly rather just seen that Dwarven Mercenary pull that 12 powered unit to the back row. Because if we were going to make this play, it was better to just pull something else into the Skags row. So a little bit of lost value on Skags, I think. And Rotfiend going to come down. This is a new card that doesn't see too much play, but I like it. So Dwarven Mercenary can pull a card from the back row and prevent Vran from dealing too much damage off that Rock Fiend Deathwish trigger. Let's see how Finland wants to play this. The rook ticking down. An 8-point lead for Finland. A 2-match lead for GFR. This is a best of 5. So Finland does have to win this match to stay alive in this tournament. And that last Dwarven Mercenary is going to move Katakan, signaling that Finland does in fact have that Hailstorm. We'll see if that Hailstorm's enough. It's going to be a little bit over 60 points. And a little bit more now off of that Abaya. So Hailstorm going to come in. And 37 points needs to be overcome now for Finland. They're going to get a free 10 points off of that Rock Fiend trigger. So 26 points not going to be able to be overcome with that last card for GFR. So Finland does stay alive in this tournament, bringing the match score, the overall match score, to 2-1. So Finland will have to win 2, and GFR will only have to win 1. So thank you everybody for tuning in. This is Ham Wolf signing off.